You're waking up with Word with the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, on Word Radio. Black Talk Media.
Black Talk Media, 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. I am the rapping professor, Aaron Smith. She is the queen, Kawesa, super producer. Put some respect on her name, and at this time, as promised, hashtag Word on Politics. We have a special Word on Politics forum. Does the black vote matter? I am Aaron Smith. We have Charles Ellison on the line, host of Reality Check. We have Brother Shamari, host of the Shamari Show. Vincent Thomas, WURD news editor and host of City Council Live, joining us, joining the workup, because some people say we wake up tired. Shouts out to everybody that woke up tired, but not right now. You about to be, right. Oh yeah, some of y'all don't wake up this early all the time.
This is new.
So welcome to the program, gentlemen. I guess one of the first things I would love to discuss is the argument about whether we should vote. Let's just start there so people understand how we feel about the process itself. Ain't no need to get deep into what Betsy DeVos said and then people like, well, I don't believe in this whole system. We can start with, let's defer to our brother via satellite, Charles Ellison, Reality Check man himself. And if you want to start, just to give maybe like a 30-second to 1-minute synopsis of your position on the process and how it relates to black people.
Right, exactly.
Well, let's start with Brother Vincent Thomas. We're going to get your sound right, Charles. We're going to work on it. Give us 1 second. But in the meantime, Vincent, you can take the same question in terms of how you feel about the voting process. I think it might be obvious based on your title and people listening to City Council. But a refresher and a reminder, and there's always new people listening. Just break down who you are, what you do, how you feel about voting, and how it relates to African Americans.
Well, it's good to finally be out of the WURD newsroom and into the actual studio. So
they know you're a real person.
I'm a real person. I'm not just that.
He moves around.
It's just that disembodied voice. The Philadelphia City Council Live Show, we're the only radio station in Philly and one of the few radio stations in the country that actually broadcasts your city council as it's happening. So we can come with interviews and live discussions about the issues that impact the city. So people don't hear it, please listen every Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You'll learn a lot about city government, and I hope that I bring that to you. Listen, democracy is simple.
All right.
If you break it down.
Break it down, brother.
Democracy is about voting. Those who vote have a say. Those that do not vote do not have a say. So why are you not going to vote in a system that already is designed that way? Like, you're not going to change the system. You're not going to change democracy.
Why are you looking
at me? No, because there's some folks.
Brother Shamari said, why are you looking at me?
Because some folks think you're going to change democracy. And that's not. That voting is a critical part of it.
Well,
so if you don't vote, you don't matter. And trust me, as a person who's worked in government, I can tell you elected officials know who vote and what areas vote, and that's how they get it. You want to know how white people get all the stuff they want?
Racism.
Racism for one, but they also hold people to account for their actions and their stuff. And black folks don't have a tendency to hold.
Oh, you're saying they hold their officials accountable?
They hold their officials
I'm about to say not their criminals, though. They let the criminals run free, and they elect them to office.
But they hold them accountable.
I
Even
hear
the criminal ones.
Sometimes.
They hold them accountable.
We were talking about Jeffrey Epstein before the breaks. I don't want to.
No, but they hold them accountable.
I just feel like
democracy
Vince
holds
must be
people
running for
accountable.
office.
But no, I'm not running for office. but let's keep it real.
Seconds, that's
but
all I'm saying.
but let's keep it real.
Okay, let Shamari do his introductory piece.
So of course, the answer to that is not no, right? Everything is context specific. And all I'm arguing, or all I would say or offer, that in this context where we are right now, given our inability to hold people accountable for some of the most egregious things that have ever happened, more importantly for me, I think that when we have this conversation, I like to look at the converse. We look at what happens when black people or if black people don't vote. The question I have is, I need and we lack an articulated return on the investment from voting that we have engaged in over the last 60 years, because we are more victimized by the successes, quote unquote, in our voting. When we argue about black politicians and what they're doing in the city of Philadelphia and what they haven't done, what the black president did or didn't do, we're more victimized by the people we've actually voted for that get into office than we are by, quote unquote, when we don't vote. So I'm just saying, as a people, let's just sit down and do a cost the opportunity cost benefit analysis of this place we've been trained over the last 60 to 70 years to focus all of our, or most of our energy in, and whether or not there have been dividends from that psychic, spiritual, physical investment. And until you can do that, you can't castigate people for not participating, because it's actually a pretty rational decision not to at this point based on the returns. That's all I'm saying.
And Brother Charles Ellison, if you'd like to take 30 seconds to a minute just to break down your position on voting and how it relates to African Americans. We're part of our Word on Politics forum. If you just tuned in, go ahead, Charles, take it away.
Oh, yeah, and thanks so much, Professor. And we all seem to be on the same wavelength, right? You know, like both Vincent and Brother Shamari making a very cogent point. And so we shouldn't be having a discussion about whether or not we should be voting. We should be having a discussion about how we vote better, how we vote more strategically, also how we vote and vote with a promise of accountability, as Brother Shamari was saying. He's absolutely right. But we should understand that there is an obligation, particularly for us as a people, and particularly considering our collective 400-year history, and also considering like the what we've done in terms of the passage of the Voting Rights Act, passage of the Civil Rights Act. I mean, we have a situation now where before the passage of the Voting Rights Act of '65, we had just several hundred black elected officials. Now we have 12,000, local, state, and federal. But no, absolutely, I understand. If people have questions about it, they're understandably and justifiably jaded because of that lack of an accountability mechanism in our communities. And so that's the next discussion. And we also have to understand that it's not just voting. It's this whole process. It's this process of advocacy and lobbying and organization and mobilization, resources and tools and strategies and techniques that we as a people have not completely tapped into yet. And I think that's where you have a lot of the frustration from, is that we haven't completely tapped into that. We also haven't gotten a lot of great guidance from our black political, public intellectual, media, and public discourse community. They've done a spectacular, it's been a spectacular failure in terms of just helping people understand, hey, this is how this process works. And once you tap into this process, these are the tangible outcomes, or these how these outcomes work, and that's where you see that disconnect happening.
Now, one of the things that, just as a point of historical reference with regards to the unique experiences of African Americans, like a lot of people say, even as Brother Vincent said, you know, we can't change democracy. But one of the issues I had, even when a caller was talking about how the laws govern all of our behaviors, and I said, no, that doesn't apply to me. Because I believe that we have changed democracy. We have a unique experience in this country. We were 3/5 of a person. We were chattel property. So when you say that to a regular person, they might say you can't change democracy. Maybe they never have. But as African people in America, we have transformed the definition of freedom and liberty. We have transformed democracy. We have a transformative potential and track record that other groups can't say that they and lay claim to. So other people say, well, yeah, if I try to give you a pessimistic outlook of what's possible for democracy and you're not African, you could say, I guess you're right, bro, nothing we could do. But we have looked at what was there and said we will completely change this, and have done that.
But we use terms loosely, though. We do it a lot as people. Functionally, this is not really a democracy. And even the voting process is a republic process. We elect people who ostensibly represent us. We don't get to represent ourselves, right? That's why when you go to court, you got to have a lawyer, or else you don't get your ass beat. It's just, it should be justice. It should be equal. But you have the structures of, that's why you have to get an accountant. The structure of this quote-unquote democracy requires Pokemon. It requires that you pick the person who's going to speak for, fight for you. And for people who are powerless to hold that person accountable, you ain't really playing. Stop deluding yourself.
And then there's electoral college also.
There are so many barriers to full, just participation that we're lying to ourselves when we act like we are actually picking someone or we actually through that person are going to have a voice. That's not the reality that we're playing in, and so we got to break the delusion so we can be more analytical about what we're doing.
But here's a question.
Yeah, you know, but you can't, there's a contradiction. There's a real contradiction in that. You can't be like delusional and analytical at the same time. You
So
know,
break the delusion.
It's just a matter of education, and I think the more that people are educated about this, and we see that, and that's not just the problem with black folks. That's just the problem with just folks and citizens in general. We really need a civic refresh, and so I think that the issue here is just making sure people understand step by step, for example, how the Electoral College really works. I don't like the Electoral College either, but it's not going away anytime soon. So, okay, well, this is how you game it. So it's a matter of, instead of hating the game or hating the players in the game, it's about, okay, well, how do we master it? How do we master it to the best of our ability? Because here's the big question. We're talking about tapping out of this process or allowing people to be so disenchanted with the process that it's okay for them to disconnect themselves from it. But once again, I have to ask this question. I've been asking it all week. Like, since when did we start stepping out of fights? Like when did black people start taking the punk way out of, taking on our challenges? So that's kind of like for us to accept that we should just disconnect from this process or allow other black people to do that. That's very troubling, because then that says that we're just giving up the fight. And I didn't know we were doing that over the past 400 years. I didn't know that.
You learned from Trump well, brother, because that was a nice little evasive thing right there. It depends on how you define the fight, and what I would argue is that this ain't the fight. And so sane people disengage from a fight that any fight that even when you win, you lose is a fight you shouldn't take. And what I am saying is that even when we win in this fight, history shows that we are still losing. We won these elections in the city of Philadelphia, and yet we're the hungriest, brokest people here. So let's when does it ever finish? That's like you keep telling me Jesus coming back, and like every time I look up, he's coming back. But when he don't come back, you say he's still coming. All I'm saying is we have enough history right now. If we want to be objective, if it, not just sentimental, objective, we have enough history to actually sit down and do an assessment about strategically, tangibly, feasibly speaking. What are the costs and benefits of our participation? That's all I'm asking for, because before you castigate me for not voting, that needs to be brought front and center in order for you to convince me that this energy is well spent.
Exactly.
All right,
real quick point there. I don't think that those are mutually exclusive. I think that they can happen on parallel paths while you're still participating in the process and learning how to game it better for your benefit. That cost-benefit analysis, I totally agree with you, can take place at the exact same time. I think, we play chess all the time, but we don't complain about changing the rules of chess. So, let's just figure out, like, okay, well, how can we be better at the game of chess? You understand what I'm saying? So I think what you're talking about, Shamari, is very spot on. We need that accountability mechanism. But at the same time, don't remove yourself from the process to the point where we suddenly have a narrative where none of us are in these spaces, where suddenly we've disappeared because we voluntarily pulled ourselves out of the process.
Well, I'm going to bring something up about that after Vince wants to make a statement.
Yeah,
in terms of that as well.
You know what? I think a lot of the frustration in the city of Philadelphia is that a lot of black elected officials get in office and they don't do what people think they should.
We need better Uncle Toms.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. If we've had 3 black mayors in the city of Philadelphia, right? And the poverty rate got to 26%, mostly under black mayors. So, but the question is this. If you elect somebody, you got to hold them accountable. A lot of people who call into this radio station and call into other radio stations that are frustrated with the process, they don't vote anyhow. So they don't get involved. So if you don't get involved, you have every right in the democracy to complain. Every right in America to complain. We make money because people complain. But you know what? I can tell you, politicians don't listen to you that complain if you don't have nothing to back it up. You got to have stuff to back it up. And you got to learn how to play this game. And I think a lot of the fault of what we have is that African Americans have elected people in the office, and we haven't held them accountable. It's okay to hold black elected officials accountable. I do it every week.
Okay, just before we wrap up, just in terms of historical context. No, for the break.
I think the blame is
just to go to
the. I don't think the blame should fall squarely on residents, on the black communities themselves. I think the black political class, yes, black media class, the black chattering class shares a big part of that blame, because once they crossed that threshold, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And it is also blame falls on residents and citizens for not participating on just that basic level, which is that voting.
All right. Well, before we take a quick break, one of the things that I definitely need to say is that we have a different experience. So when we say what it takes to make politicians listen, we have an established history of being outside of this process and having a definitive, empirically quantifiable impact on this process.
And that's been our best impact.
Whether it was Bacon's Rebellion, whether it was even the impact of the Haitian transformative things. We don't need to necessarily be in this process on their level, in their way, playing their game according to their rules to change it, because we have done it repeatedly.
But if we're in that process, we got to hold folks accountable.
And that's what we'll talk about after the break. I'm Aaron Smith, Brother Shamari, Vincent Thomas, Charles Ellison. It's our Word on Politics Forum. Do the black votes matter? We're going to talk about it on the other side some more. You're waking up with Word, y'all.
Don't miss the Electric Magazine Show, hosted by Cody Anderson and Vicky Leach. Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. Exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM W.
Sylvester Mobley.
There are a lot of kids that will have a brighter future thanks to Alan Dom and his contributions to Code of Bright Kids.
Having Alan Dom make a commitment to transforming people's lives through technology has helped us. I can't thank Alan Dom enough.
Fundraising to teach computer coding. Personally donating thousands. Alan Dom is fighting to give our children the opportunities they deserve and preparing them for success. Big ideas. Big achievements. A better city for all of us. Vote Alan Dom, Democrat for City Council at large. Paid for by Alan Dom for City Council.
This is Ronald Clark with the Moravia Health Tip. The bond between a patient and their caregiver is very important. Empathy and kindness are crucial to having a trusting relationship with your loved one. When selecting a home care aide to help with your daily tasks, such as cooking, cleaning, and companionship, inquire as to why the candidate chose caregiving as a profession. The right caregiver will have a good mixture of professionalism and a loving and caring nature. Many families are not aware, but they are able to hire a family member or a friend as their paid home care aide. With training through Moravia Health, caring for your loved one just got easier. Moravia Health is dedicated to delivering quality care to patients in the comfort of their home. For more information about Moravia Health, call 215-717-8650. That's 215-717-8650, or visit MoraviaHealth.com. Moravia Health, because there's no place like home.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by the T.J. Martell Foundation. Still a busy ride, Schuylkill Expressway westbound past Young to the Vine. Again, the Boulevard out through Gladwin eastbound. The Boulevard through University busy. Westbound Vine, 8th Street through the Schuylkill. Eastbound delays off the Schuylkill through Broad. Southbound 95, that jams from Common Avenue down through Allegheny. Disabled vehicle there being worked on now on the Blue Route 476 northbound near Jam Media Swarthmore. Making 95 up to Route 1. Accident there off to the left. Southbound Mid-County through the Schuylkill. Heavy again, Media Swarthmore down through McDade. 295 busy both ways into 42. 42 northbound Lower Landing Road at 295. Heavy 55 north jam from Deptford into 42 now this morning.
The T.J. Martell Foundation. Music's promise for a cure. To learn more, visit tjmartell.org. That's tjmartell.org.
For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. I'm Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Let's go! You're waking up with Word.
Waking up with Word, y'all!
With the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith.
Get your weight up, and then we'll have a conversation
on Word Radio. Black Talk Media.
900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, WURDradio.com. Listen live anytime and log on. If you don't have that app, you know where to go. Download an app like you know me. I'm the host of the show, Aaron Smith, the rapping professor. She is Queen Kawesa, super producer. Put some respect on her name. And at this time, you are in the middle of the Word on Politics forum about black votes and do the black votes matter. Charles Ellison, Brother Shamari, Vincent Thomas, and myself, Aaron Smith. One of the things that we were talking about was how do we synthesize the varied approaches and perspectives to political and social engagement for those people who don't trust the process, and that's their reason for not voting. For people who feel like their energy, like we talked about psycho and spiritual energies, could be better dedicated for the upliftment and liberation of African people in a different setting, in a different way. Some people are doing cooperatives with food growth. Some people are doing things with literacy. Some people are doing things with protection against human trafficking. Some people are really doing a lot of frontline, full-time work, and they just might not feel as though their energy is best served investing it in a process that, from my historical standpoint, refused to even discuss reparations.
And that is the issue, and that's what I was pushing back with Charles about, is like, how do you define the game? See, the game, the fight is bigger than voting, right? So when you don't vote, you haven't tapped out of the fight. There are other areas, and so what we don't have is a strategic aggregation of black anything. It could be strategic aggregation of the black vote, strategic aggregation of black money. You know,
Can I ask you one thing while you're on that point? Is there a possibility that, and even in terms of Vincent's perspective, since you have different perspectives on this, is there a way to strategically exercise non-voting temporarily, like people argue, withhold the vote long enough to have some political integrity about ourselves as a community, represent ourselves as a bloc that will only accept certain standards and have non-negotiables and deal breakers, and maybe sit out for whatever number of elections it takes for people to see we're not playing with them, and for them to realize without our vote they won't get elected? Is there some strategy we can discuss where maybe not voting can lend to the power of our votes?
All I'm saying is, I can't speak for y'all brothers. I know my life is a testament of the fact that the sister who's been willing to let me know she would be missed, that she would walk away, I tend to work harder to keep her around.
I hear you.
That's true. Well,
I mean, so
something about giving the milk away for free. They used to say to the young ladies.
I'm very clear that in individual reality that works because it's a natural law. Like, if you're not willing to make somebody miss you, even if they're abusing you, you're going to receive abuse.
And Vincent, your opinion?
Listen, I think the strategy can be both and. It doesn't have to be either. It has to be both. Right. I don't think it has to be either or.
Let's reframe it. It has. That's my point. The strategy has to be both and. I can't castigate you for voting. Right. But my problem is,
and I can't castigate you for
but we freely do. You telling me I'm just, not you particularly, but people will tell us we're dishonoring our ancestors by not voting, even though we might be on the front lines of the battles on the street. We might be growing food, we homeschooling, we doing all this kind of stuff under the auspices of what needs to be done, making a contribution. But the problem is we're not working together as a team because we see each other in different fights.
I want to give you something else, Brother Shamari. But one thing I do want to push back on, what do you say to the people who say, Brother Shamari, I feel you, but it's only like 5 minutes, bro. Why can't you just go in there, push a button, man?
Yeah, and it's free.
I'll give you my answer.
No, yeah, that's all.
And I hope this doesn't take everything. We got to understand that our attempt to get anything in this culture is deemed an insurgency. And so when we're viewed in supposedly our own society as insurgents because we just want the stuff that everybody else gets, then the society acts in a counterinsurgent manner. And when you begin to understand counterinsurgency, you understand the role that elections ostensibly play as a counterinsurgency weapon. I don't legitimize counterinsurgency against my own people.
No, I appreciate you.
And this is a counterinsurgent strategy.
No, I appreciate the answer, because I know some people, I want people to have their questions answered, because I know people are thinking different things. Right. And somebody might... Okay, Charles.
Yeah, but why not, like, you could view that electoral strategy as a counterinsurgency strategy, but I mean, the question to Brother Shamari is, like, what's the alternative? I think people should be castigated for not voting. I honestly do, because, you know what, people are standing in long lines and waiting for hours to see movies like Us and Black Panther and paying $25, $30 tickets to do that, when this is a process that, you know, sometimes it takes 5-10 minutes. If depending on the battleground state you're in, it'll take 3-4 hours. I've stood in line for 3-4 hours waiting to vote, and it's free, but it is a free process. So, you know, but what's the alternative? Like, what do you like? What are you recommending people do otherwise? You understand what I'm saying?
Well,
so you have to. And the other thing, and real quick, you know, and the other thing too is that this is not something that's emotional. It's not an emotional process like a relationship between a man and woman. I mean, cynically and on a very pragmatic level, it's just about what is the best strategy. So, you know, at a certain
that's not true, Charles.
time,
this is all emotion. This is a pad.
You know,
the way we vote now is a pageant show.
At the moment in time right now, we're at a moment in time where we're heading up on 2020, and the best alternative, it may not be like the desired alternative, and that's not what politics is about. It's not about what you desire or a desired alternative. It's what works in your best interest at that time.
And what do you feel works in our best interest for 2020, in your opinion, in terms of this process? What do you think the best answer is? Because we talked about the possibility of withholding our vote to send a message. What do you think is the best option?
Withholding your vote doesn't send a message. That basically just says that you're acquiescing, that you're going to allow people to continue doing or creating malicious policy against you, that you're sanctioning that by essentially not voting. And so, I mean, it's a two-part decision. One is, do we want to continue with the chaos that we currently have in Washington, that we currently have in the White House? And two, there's an opportunity moment. I mean, we have an unprecedented moment where we are now openly talking about or forcing white candidates especially to talk about reparations. It's not a perfect discussion by any measure, but that's unprecedented. And we're also forcing people to say, like, black or black agenda during the course of this. We have to understand, like, during a primary, especially a Democratic primary, black voters actually, if we're collectively on the same page about this, we actually dominate the Democratic primary.
But to push back briefly, the same way I said to Brother Shamari, if you don't have the possibility of removing your vote from the negotiating table, if you are if that's not an option for me to say, if you do certain things, I will not vote. If you are already coming to the negotiating table promising to vote and you 90% chance vote Democrat, what is to stop the Democrats?
We do a reality check?
Hold on.
The reality check is that you don't have a vote. You didn't even do the first step, so you've just automatically canceled out your voice. And the other thing too is that we keep selling the vote when we have these public discussions as if that's the only thing we're supposed to do. There's a whole process. There's a whole series of steps that you have to take. We talk about that on Reality Check every day. We talk about that throughout WURD.
But again, Charles.
And people don't.
But again, Charles, if the possibility of us not voting is not on the table and part of that discussion, if you don't say to somebody, if you don't do me right and treat me right and give me what I am demanding, whether reparation, if that's not even a part of what the voters are considering, then I can't really look down on people.
Can I moderate this comment? That is when you can say this. Let's use an incumbent. Let's say Aaron Smith is the incumbent.
I was going to say, please don't say no real people.
No. Let's say Aaron. Let's say Aaron Smith's the incumbent, right? And I'm running against Aaron Smith.
Okay.
And a bunch of voters say, Aaron, you haven't done me well. If you don't do X, I'm voting for Vincent. I bet you Aaron gonna start doing what they want, because the threat is that that group of voters isn't going to vote for you, the incumbent, because you want to keep your job, and they're going to vote for me. So one of the things I try to caution people is all elections matter. I'm not focused on 2020. I'm focused on the May 21st primary. Right. I'm focused on the primary in Philly that's going to impact the mayor, your city council, your judges. All politics matter, and all elections are
right. All right,
real
quick to Brother Shamari. Say what you're going to say, but also when you finish up, I want you to add, do you feel there is a difference between the national and political and local approach? Because me personally, I'm going to tell you straight up, I agree with you a lot more when you're talking about national politics than when you tell me who's going to be this judge down the street and about trash pickup and all that.
Right. So, and for clarity, so I said on this show, and I'm not taking credit for this by any stretch of the imagination, but the record will show
Let the record reflect.
A long few months ago, I literally said, sitting in that chair, that don't anybody in Philadelphia approach me about voting until you can run a candidate in a Democratic primary against everybody sitting at city council. Because for you to tell me it's irresponsible for me to not vote, and yet I say to you it's irresponsible for you to keep putting those same people back in office, and they taking our neighborhoods and our cities and doing nothing for us. So I'm enlivened by the fact that everybody has somebody running against them. Now, do I think anybody's going to lose this time around? No. But I do guarantee you that our leadership class sitting in City Hall right now is thinking about the implications of their next go up. And I guarantee you several of them will choose not to run in the next election because they understand that the paradigm is shifting.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
They understand it, and they understand right now, and we're understanding that we lose when we play by the traditional rules, and people are trying to figure out now how they do it. The idea of running independent candidates is there. The idea of disrupting. I might not win, but I'm going to disrupt.
So that's what you focus on.
Let me finish my answer to the question. And all I'm saying is going back to this black vote thing. Even looking at this, and I want to ask both of you because you all.
We're going to do closing comments. I'm going to let you go first.
Y'all political insiders. See, my thing is we got to look at how the black vote is looked at, and I look at it as the money that you put in your shoe or in your bra when you go to the casino. And this is how, to me, politicians count our vote. It's like, I'm going to the casino, I have $200, but I'm gonna put $50 in my bra, and the goal is I gotta leave with this, at least this $50. It's untouchable. So I'm not using it as an investment. It's the minimum value.
If I can't get a point
in, I take it for granted, and I'm telling you, when electoral.
If I can't get a point, if I can't get a point in, Professor, if I can't get a point in, because it seems like it's sort of weighed against the people who are making the very irresponsible argument, a very dangerous argument, that we should not do just the very first step, basic function, which is the vote. And so I think that, to Shamari's point, then, that's what you do. That's a non-negotiable position, that you don't vote. But at the same time, you look for penetration moments or opportunities where you can insert your candidates or yourself or those agendas that you desire into those primaries. That's obviously not happening on May 21st on the scale that we'd like it to happen. But we still teach people on how that's done and how that process. So, elected officials, the black elected class, especially in the city, they understand that there's not a robust accountability infrastructure in the city of Philadelphia. And also people realize that that's also the case nationwide and elsewhere. But that doesn't mean that we just tap out on that. That's a very basic first step. That's like the primer is the vote. That's something simple. But there's these other processes we are going to have to put, and we do have to be unified. Even though we have different approaches and different ways of thinking and different philosophies, we should all be on the same page. So, for example, we haven't gathered together to figure out what's a black agenda for Philadelphia 2019 or Black People 2020. So I do agree that has to take place, but that's non-negotiable as far as that vote faith. This is the first time. This is real quick. This is the first time where we voluntarily had a conversation. We've always worked outside the process or the system, yes, as black people, but that was not by choice. That was something we didn't choose for that to happen. This is the first time where people.
I gotta go to break. I'll come right back. I'll come right back from the break. I'll come right back after the break. Y'all all know how this works. We gotta go to the commercials. So we're gonna talk about other options. But one thing I want you all to think about on the other side of the break is I want you to share with the people what's the best thing we've got from voting, because oftentimes when people talk about voting, the main thing they focus on is the fact that we got the right to vote.
Right.
Well, you're waking up with words.
I don't do that personally.
You're waking. All right. You're already waking up with words, y'all.
Shamari Show. Fridays 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Word Radio. And streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app. Enterprise Exterminators will evaluate and eliminate whatever pest problems you may have, specializing in bed bugs, fleas, mice, and roaches. Do-it-yourself kits available. Hurry down to 4943 Wayne Avenue now. 215-849-7070.
Nina Simone, For Women is a musical play on stage now through March 31st at People's Light in Malvern, featuring hits like Sinnerman and To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. Nina Simone, For Women imagines the legendary songstress at the site of the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, the event that shifted Simone's career from nightclub singer to civil rights activist. For tickets, call 610-644-3500 or visit peopleslight.org.
Support independent black media and join the onWURD movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
Did you know that smoking a hookah for 1 hour is equivalent to smoking 10 cigarettes? Or that a single black, Dutch, or Swisher cigarillo has 3 times as much tobacco as a cigarette? Even the leaf wrap is full of tobacco and harmful to your health. Whether it's from a hookah, cigar, cigarillo, or cigarette, where there's smoke, there's danger. To learn more and for help quitting today, visit smokefreephilly.org/danger.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, kind of work people more than 8 hours without overtime, kind of work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager. And Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Now, with more clarity, this is onWURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at wordradio.com. Let's go! You're waking up with Word.
Waking up with Word, child.
On onWURD Radio. Black Talk Media.
Black Talk Media, 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, WURDradio.com. Listen live anytime and log on. If you don't have that app, you know where to go. Download an app like you know. I am the referee of the show, Aaron Smith, the rapping professor. We have Brother Shamari, we have Vincent Thompson, we have Charles Ellison, and we're talking about the black vote. I'm going to set my clock now. I'm going to do my timer, and we're going to do like the Academy Awards with the acceptance speeches. I'm going to say 45 seconds. I was going to say 30, but I see that. Yeah,
no, I'm deferring. Yeah. I'm smart.
Oh, no,
I'm deferring.
So you can answer the question about what's the best thing voting has done for us. Mm-hmm. You can talk about what's the best way to synthesize these varied perspectives because they exist throughout our community, not just in our studio today. Mm-hmm. Or you could just give a general opinion or perspective or encouragement about the process or withholding from the process. We'll start with Brother Charles Ellison, 45 seconds. You got it.
You know, we have amenities. We have access to resources that we didn't have 50, 60 years ago before the introduction and the passage of the Voting Rights Act. And just like I said, I mean, we had a situation where we barely had several hundred black elected officials, state, local, federal, which is to now where we have 12,000 plus on that scale to this day. So, but no one sold it as that it would be that one after the passage of that or after the civil rights movement, we reached the mountaintop. No one said it was going to be easy. You know, and when people, and you know, it's interesting because people on one hand say that we have to always pay homage to our ancestors, but when it comes to voting, they don't want to do that in the sense of the sacrifices that people did make. But at that same point,
45 seconds.
But on that same point, not voting is non-negotiable.
All right, I got you. Yeah, not voting is non-negotiable. Let me reset my clock.
I'm gonna defer my time to Vince because I asked 2 questions that.
Okay, so you use some of your time to remind Vince of the question, and we'll give Vince a whole minute and 10 seconds.
The black vote, particularly locally, adds money in the bra for particularly the Democratic Party.
I think a lot of black voters wouldn't mind money in the bra.
Okay, a full minute. from Brother Thompson. A full minute.
So, because I contend that for me, I mind. I think my people deserve more. So
right,
we're taking for granted in this process. It has to be both and as you showed, we make more progress when we do more in the and part versus on the inside part.
All right.
Shamari and I agree. I believe that it's both and. I think that you have African American elected officials in office. You have to hold them accountable. You have to hold everybody in city government accountable, because Philadelphians African Americans make up most of the city. When you talk about blacks and Latinos, we're a majority black and brown city. So you got to hold everybody accountable, including Mayor Kenny. I also think that we need to understand that all elections matter. So don't just look at the sexy election, which is 2020. Look at the local election that's going to impact you probably
What's
more.
that date again?
May 21st. You have to be registered to vote by April the 22nd. That's why we are covering it like crazy here on URD, because those local issues are probably going to impact your life more than anything that happens on the national
Especially when they put metal detectors in these schools.
That's right.
Like Joe Clark is running this joint. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'll do that next break. I'll be here all morning. I'm sorry. Go ahead, 15 more seconds.
The chair would like to
use your time, sir. Use your time. Reclaim
my time. And also, the one thing I also want to let folks know is, if you want to run a candidate against somebody in an election in Philly, just like back in the 60s and 70s, Hardy Williams and all those people
Somebody
did
tried to get me to run.
You need to follow the rules.
Yeah, you have
The reason that people are getting knocked off is they not following the basic rules of the election. If it says you need 750 valid signatures, do your work and get 750. You get knocked off because you submit 1,000 signatures and 300 of them you signed at your kitchen table.
And you say it's racism. No, just kidding.
That ain't racism. That's bad planning.
Yes, bad planning.
Now,
not playing by the
I
rules.
thank all of you brothers for participating this morning. We have to do it again. Everybody knows that this conversation ain't even started. Let alone
Get a part two.
I'm going to wear my Foot Locker
At the
shirt.
beginning of the conversation,
I got to do it like a fight. I got to say, everybody go to your respective corners. We're going to give a timer and give some music. I'm going to go to the phone lines. I thank you all for joining me this morning. It's been a privilege, a pleasure, and honor. And I know that social media is lit up, Brother Martin been telling me, and we're going to read some of the comments on social media. But at this time, we're going to take it from our Word on Politics conversation in studio out into the streets and the community. Brother Ken from North Philly, thank you for waking up with Word.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm in West Philly, by the way, but that's okay. That was an interesting conversation, and I agree with all the panelists, although they don't seem to be listening to each other. But that's let me get to my point. Since we're not a monolith, we should have several black agendas, not just one black agenda, because
Which one do you think is most important in your personal opinion, Ken? What are some of the top issues for you for 2019 and 2020?
Gentrification's at the top of my list.
Okay.
And I'm looking at every of my elected officials' opponent in the upcoming primary, because it makes no sense that you're sitting there and letting these universities, and especially these universities, just come in and expand. And but let me give an example. University City High School, and there were two other schools in that same area.
Mm-hmm.
They were effectively replaced by a seasonal beer garden and a couple of parking lots.
Wow. No, I appreciate your call and your input. Ken, Maisha from North Philly, thank you for waking up with Word.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Professor. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Real quick, I want to thank you again, because you know I am at the library. I want to shout out Brother Shamari, too. My husband knows him. And then I just want to really quickly say that I don't know if Mr. Ellison is still there, but because he's in the political realm, I reached out to him. I don't want to put him out there, but I think I'm in a space where everyday people need that information, so they can make better choices. But I think sometimes when, I was a little frustrated, well, not frustrated, but disappointed when I reached out, because I would really like someone like him to come to that community. I'm like off of 6th and Lehigh, and those people really need to know like what is going on, because I think a lot of, like Brother Shamari said, we are being taken advantage of. So if I reach out to somebody that knows some information, like I'm really hoping that we could share this wealth to everybody, because we as a people, we gotta get this together. I mean, we gotta really come together and work some things out.
Sister Maisha, I want you to listen up right now. I'm going to allow Vincent to give his email, and he'll be willing to come on the podcast, share the information, and just have a listen. And thank you for waking up with Word this morning. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, Maisha, how are you? I'm Philly fed and Philly bred. I'll come anywhere in Philly. My email address is vthompson, VTHOMPSON, at WURDradio.com. And now, I'm like you, Aaron. I'm on the world tour of
with
politics.
Muhammad, my man.
That's right. I'm on the city world tour.
No, it's important that people get the information.
So
because
give me a call.
I heard a brother not only talk about the advantages in engaging the political process with the proper information, but the reduction of fear. The more you know about something, less fearful you act, involved in any given process. So, and the more you know, the less you pay, and the less you know, the more you pay. And we've been paying. So, Brother Mark from Sicklerville, thank you for waking up with Word.
Good morning, brother. How are you this morning?
Doing well.
Always a pleasure to talk to you. It was a really nice conversation y'all had. It was really interesting. And, and I appreciate the questions that you asked, and you were speaking for a lot of people, and I like the way you put that to them as far as, if they choose not to vote or if they choose to vote. And one thing that I know that we can do is stand up. Like, for instance, they having that safe injection site. We can go down there and stand and protest and put them things down. We can cut them off with our dollar. Also, they were saying about things are non-negotiable. Voting is non-negotiable. One brother was saying, well, nothing is non-negotiable. Violence is non-negotiable. It's some things that we can't touch. We can't stand up. They can talk about homosexuality and, this and that, as far as coming together and accepting everything. We don't have to accept everything. We don't have to accept getting beat down, shot down. We can protest. We can cut things down. But these guys, they do a lot of talking, and they hide behind the microphone. The one guy was up there getting upset with the other brother. He was acting like he was broadcasting his show at night, telling everybody the reality check. We wasn't here to broadcast this show. We was here to get some information. But I'm not going to rattle on, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Sometimes I do that. But keep the good work up.
I appreciate you, Brother Mark from Sicklerville. This hour is brought to you by Power, Philadelphia's Organized Witness, Empower, and Rebuild. For more information, visit powerinterfaith.org. On the line at this time, we have Zen from Lindenwold, New Jersey.
Good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
I just got a question. There's a brother standing on the corner at Broad at 15th in York. Do anybody think he would make a good mayor? And then one more question. There's some more brothers standing on the corner at Germantown and Lehigh. Do you think they would make a good city council? That's all I want to know.
I think I got your point, brother. I think I got it. There are a lot of brothers out there. And we do have to find a way to bring into the fold and into the conversation brothers who are not just outside the voting process, but outside of this conversation. I think that's actually more important. I think there's actually a larger swath of the community that's completely disenfranchised with the entire conversation around the politics of the city, traditional and otherwise. There's too many brothers and sisters that don't want to take it to the streets or to the polls, and I think we need to have a significant amount of conversation around how to enfranchise them and include them, especially our younger people who are reaching voting age, who are not even thinking about whether to vote or not vote, and they need to be here in this conversation.
Did we get the comment? I think about Malcolm's quote about, one of the mistakes of the movement has been to try to get people to protest and march and vote without waking up and resurrecting their spirit first.
Political maturity, right?
And I think we're skipping over the fact that in many ways our participation in the society has broken many of our spirits. And we got to do some spiritual reawakening so that people can then rightly decide how they want to enact their agency on their own behalf, and we're not doing that real well at all.
Philadelphians have a lot of broken spirits, and when your spirit is broken, really you don't give a damn.
And I remember we had the show that we did with the community members from Osage Avenue, Pam Africa, Councilman Jones, and former Mayor Wilson Good revealed some generational, decades-old trauma and hurt and pain and disillusionment and disenfranchisement that is like an open sore on our city, that if we don't have a component that discusses some degree of healing, it's almost putting the cart before the horse to even discuss whether to go to the ballot or even to the streets if we're just taking our pain there.
And that's why this is emotional. When I say to Charles, this is emotional. It's all emotional. Fear, pain, past generational traumatic, all of that's at play.
Closing schools is definitely emotional because people love their high schools, and when you close down 23 high schools,
is emotional, brother.
You definitely hurt a lot of people when people say, "I'm going to my reunion, but my school don't exist no more." We're gonna take a break. I'm Aaron Smith, the rapping professor. It was our Word on Politics segment. I know y'all want to do it again. We're gonna go talk about what social media is saying also on the other side of the break, and back to the phone lines. And later in the show, well, not much later, we have MK Asante, Dr. Malefikete Asante's son, who will be at the conference, the most dangerous hip-hop conference in the world, Ritter Hall, Temple University, 11 a.m. We'll be there tomorrow, and attorney Lee Merritt will also be giving a keynote as well. We got 2 keynotes, and you're going to be in the building. Shouts out to my AAR peeps who always get places early and get a good seat. You're waking up with work, y'all.
Brothers and sisters, don't miss The Source. Weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Word Radio, WordRadio.com, and the Word Radio app.
Temple University was founded on the belief that everyone in our city deserves an opportunity to do and be more. Today, that's still our belief. We are committed to strengthening Philadelphia, starting with the community we share with our neighbors. Scott Charles and Amy Goldberg lead several programs at Temple that aim to reduce gun violence, a serious public health problem affecting many communities in Philadelphia.
I've said it a number of times, I really wouldn't want to work anywhere else, and it's really special. I don't take it for granted when I drive up Broad Street every morning to come to work. The privilege that it is to care for patients in this community, to work side by side with our medical school faculty and our hospital staff, it is really very special.
One of the things that drives me and compels me to keep doing this is my belief that we can change this, that we do not have to accept the rates of gun violence as a city as this insurmountable challenge. And, you know, this is why I continue to do this work, with the hope that we're going to see fewer shootings, we're going to see people better off than they were when we met them.
See what's possible, temple.edu.
Creator Roofing. That's the company my dad runs. He's a great roofer and a father too. I've watched my dad over the years. He really cares about his customers like he cares about our family. My dad has been a licensed, bonded roofer for over 20 years. He runs Creator Roofing, he's a block captain, and he started Streets of Hope, a ministry to feed, clothe, and shelter the homeless. Call my dad because he cares about people at 267-333-1778.
Hi, this is Brandon Wallace, the owner of Creator Roofing. Please give us a call at 267-333-1778.
An adult elephant can weigh up to 6 tons. The average person, 150 pounds. Ever heard of carfentanil? It's a large wild animal tranquilizer. Illegal drug dealers lace heroin with it. It can kill the average human. If you or a loved one is addicted to opiates, even pain pills, don't wait until it's too late. Call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. We care. Many of us have been where you are. We'll take you or a loved one away from the drug environment to a place you can clean out safely. Plus, we'll work with your insurance company to make sure you get the treatment you need. And with a Family Medical Leave Act, you're allowed by law to get away for help without telling your employer why. Call now to save a life. 800-694-1135. 800-694-1135. That's 800-694-1135.
In celebration of women, Nina Simone.
I'll tell you what freedom is to me. No fear. I mean, really, no fear. If I could have that half of my life, no fear. That's the only way I can describe it.
This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Philadelphia. Independent Black Media. Word Radio News Update with Vincent Thompson.
Good morning. Here's the latest from the Word Radio Newsroom, 96.1 FM and 900 AM. A strike impacting all Community College of Philadelphia campuses could start as early as next week. More than 1,200 union faculty members at the Community College of Philadelphia voted this week to go on strike. American Federation of Teachers Local 2026 co-president Junior Brainard says the union is willing and ready to negotiate a tentative agreement to avoid a strike. Union faculty and staff have been working without a contract since August 2016. One of the sticking points is wages and benefits. 27,000 students go to CCP. Students are concerned that any faculty strike could impact the May 4th commencement festivities. Every Friday, Word Radio News and Thompson Media Man Communications gives listeners our good news story of the week. The Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists will host the More Than Just Green, the Color of Cannabis Conference on Saturday, April the 6th from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Quorum at the Science Center Building, 3675 Market Street in West Philadelphia. 33 states, including Washington, D.C., have legalized marijuana to some capacity. Almost 10 more states are poised to legalize marijuana in some form in 2019. New Jersey just postponed a vote on the issue a few days ago. At the conference, the public will hear from community activists and educators, medical experts and journalists, politicians, and more to educate the African American community on how marijuana prohibition came to be, how it's evolved, where legalization is now, and what is to come. Tickets are available for purchase now. For more information about the conference, to purchase tickets, and information about PABJ, go to the organization's website at phillyabj.org. That's phillyabj.org. Information is also available right now on Word Radio's Facebook page. If you have a good news story you would like Word Radio News and Thompson Media Man Communications to consider, email it to vthompson@wordradio.com. Checking sports, the Sixers defeated the Brooklyn Nets last night. Sixers center Joel Embiid is raising his game in anticipation of the playoffs. He scored 39 points, grabbed 13 rebounds, and 6 assists in the game. The win ends the Sixers' 2-game losing streak. The Sixers play the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday. Sixers assistant coach Billy Lang is now the new head coach at St. Joseph University, replacing Phil Martelli, who was fired after 24 years as head coach. In the NCAA men's basketball tournament, Gonzaga, Purdue, Texas Tech, Virginia won last night to advance to the Elite 8 round. 4 more games to see who joins in the Elite 8 round will be played tonight. The Elite 8 games will be played on Saturday and Sunday. And the NCAA women's basketball tournament continues today and tomorrow. The Flyers are still alive, barely, in their hopes to get the final wildcard playoff spot in the NHL Eastern Conference. The Flyers' next game is against the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday. Vincent Thompson, Word Radio News.
Let's go! You're waking up with Word with the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, on Word Radio. Black Talk Media.
Black Talk Media, 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. We had our Word on Politics segment. I'm Aaron Smith. She's Queen Kawesa. And on Facebook, the lines on social media were lit up. Bernard Collins was saying long ago, my mother's friend schooled me on the fact that if you're a non-voter, the politicians take it into account and mute your voice. You don't matter. Jonathan Harris was saying, but what has it gotten us? Police brutality is still rampant. Our poverty rate is still higher, et cetera, et cetera. Says, in terms of our voting, Nicole Collins also commented, if the black voting block is withheld, understand that will have an impact. Will the impact be worse than what we have now in Philadelphia is the question she's asking. Do we have the solidarity? Voting was hard fought for. That doesn't mean not voting in a block can't have an impact. Y'all was lighting up social media. We appreciate it. We're going to keep this party going, and maybe even once a month, and as we get close to the election, once a week, have a Word on Politics type of segment like that. And next week, we have a Word on Politics segment with all women. I know my sister's like, hey, what about the sisters' voices? It's the end of Women's History Month. We got y'all. We're going to extend it. Next week, all women having a similar discussion in studio. And on the line at this time, we got George from Center City. Thank you for waking up with Word.
Good morning, Professor Vince and Samari and Brother Charles. Samari, you're one of the few people I listen to all the time and admire the way you go at it. And everybody have a right to think the way they want and do as they please. But an elected official, they value vote. If you don't vote, it's a serious thing. I used to believe it. You don't count. Because, they look at the stacks and say, this area here is not that important. But this area over here votes overwhelmingly, and they appreciate. You get no more than you put in. If you don't put nothing in your community, and if you don't go to those elected officials, you don't get anything. It's like putting money in the bank. If you don't put nothing in there, you're not getting anything out.
What do you say? What do you say to the people who are saying we're not getting anything now?
That's because they're not asking for anything. If I got 1,000 people to feed and you don't ask for nothing or you don't come to anything, well, how I know you hungry or how I know you want to eat? I mean, you just have to speak up.
But that seems to put all the onus on the community and none on the politicians, and saying that the only reason we haven't gotten anything is we haven't asked. I think we have at some points in history.
No, I'm not saying that, Professor, and you're a very good teacher. But this is that wrong. It's that people, you know the elected officials who work. We got only 4 people in city council that only care about black people. So all that other stuff about blackness, matter of fact, in politics, you're not even allowed to even talk that stuff. You better do this for black people and that. Because you will hear black elected officials putting it down. But they only care about basically the area who votes. You can dress it up any way you want. At the end of the day, it's about vote. When they put a business somewhere, it's about the traffic, about people coming there. Who want this commodity? Voting, your vote is a commodity. It's like keeping their job.
So what's the best thing you feel like we have gotten from the vote?
And again?
What's the best thing you feel like we've gotten from the vote?
Well, the best thing really here, it's like, I don't like even going in the past. What your future is that what you couldn't get, like, say, a lot of African Americans 5 years ago couldn't get basic jobs. Now they get basic jobs. You couldn't get what you call, and the worst thing in the world is you look at your elected official who. So
basic jobs. I got a lot of calls on the line, but the basic jobs is your answer. Brother Rick Savage.
Good morning, panel. How are you today?
The panel's not here anymore, but good morning.
You guys are on a very serious topic. This is a matter of life and death. You come into this world needing a birth certificate. You leave needing a death certificate. All that is politics. I just want to make an announcement pertaining to what a few good men are trying to accomplish. This Tuesday, April the 2nd, at 5:30 to 7:30, the Muslim Legal of Voters of Delaware Valley is having a marital candidate conference or discussion pertaining to this marital race. If anyone has a question for any of these individuals, here's the opportunity to put your questions in front of these individuals that want this job.
Give us the time and place one more time, sir.
It's 5:30 to 7:30, April the 2nd, at 7401 Lincoln Pike.
No, thank you very much. We appreciate the information. Also, Jacob from Alney, thank you for waking up with Word.
Peace be unto you, brother. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
All right. I was listening to the conversation, and I'm one to, again, I'm gonna vote until it counts. But one thing in construction, when you tear down something, you got to be able to build up, right? There's a brother that calls the station that tell black people, say, get out of America, run, because they're going to kill you. Now, first of all, he ain't left nowhere yet, and he don't tell us how we should do it. They asked him one time, well, where should we go? He didn't even know. So, and I repeat, he ain't went nowhere yet. But and then I hear another thing. My Afrocentric brothers, I love y'all. But as a Muslim, I always hear y'all down Islam because the Arabs before Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, partook in slavery, right? But will not acknowledge that Africans helped into the enslavement of their own people. They won't accept that, even though there's facts that there's people, that men living right now, that said that they got this knowledge from their great-great-grandmother who passed it to their great-grandmother who passed it to their grandmother. They won't respect that because they don't want to see, everything. I mean, we just got to let the chips fall where they may. We have to accept truth from all ends. And, it's
your phone is kind of... Well, I know on this radio station, we definitely talk very highly. I get a lot of emails about how highly I speak. even personally, about the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I think it was Malana Karenga who wanted to make a distinction between collaborators and designers of the slave trade. When you have people making boats and manacles and having a whole international Berlin conference, and then you get some people at the door, you know, to let you in, you know, it's not the same as somebody being an architect of an international slave trade. So a lot of people really frown upon this whole notion of blacks sold blacks into slavery as though they designed the trade and weren't under the threat of dying or being enslaved themselves when they made these decisions. So I don't know if it's totally historically accurate or genuine to conflate those who made decisions about dividing up Africa like a big cake in the Berlin Conference and made boats and the papal bull that the Pope said he can civilize the heathen and spread Christianity throughout the world, which opened the floodgates, in addition to Christopher Columbus when he was cutting off the hands. Like, to do that and to say, I went to this village with my guns and said either y'all go or they go, and they gave y'all. Like, okay, yeah, that happened, but I don't know if it's accurate to say, yeah, y'all sold each other to slavery. Like, I don't know if the history bears the truth of that out, and I think that's used as a way to divide and conquer and malign African people by increasing the significance of their participation in a trade that was obviously taking place regardless of if they had a few collaborators or not. It's like the Mac said, we can handle this like some gentlemen, we can get some gangster stuff, and it seems like that's what the early colonists and imperialists and committers of genocide, rape, and murder were saying to these people, giving them what they called in the JBM days an offer you can't refuse, like get down or lay down. Big difference. Brother Ron on the line, thank you for waking up with Word.
Yes, I just want to remind the listening and the panel, they're still there. America cannot give you a utopian and that's good. That's a no-no. I'll never forget I had a group of people that don't vote, religious people. I won't talk about them, but you see them on the street quite often. And I had to remind them everything that we vote for, you benefit by. In some way, if you get your pension, a lot of y'all get pensions up, it all comes with a political decision. And I also say that Malcolm reminds us, what do we expect? Control the politics of the community. You have an obligation to follow up after you do your voting process. And I say to all people that don't believe in their so Afro-African-centric, culture, it's not that they're only one. You're in the bounds of North America. You're in the bounds of North America. And that's why Elijah Muhammad and many other men, Father Divine, understood to respect that flag of the United States of America. You can say you're anything, and I can say I'm anything, but you can't deny that you're not in the bounds of this country. And we have proven from Temple University and all universities throughout this country, even we struggled for. As a matter of fact, the FBI and the CIA got our fingerprints on some of everything that's good in this country. Continue to vote. Continue to be involved in this democracy, because for this republic we must stand, because we are here now. Because you are not going to pick up any guns and destroy anything, because you can make it. It's so beautiful that you can make it work in this country. I don't want to say to all in this station and the three talk show hosts as I close. What Vincent Thomas does and Mr. Ellis does, they give more in detail of political government. And what the professor does, he goes to the university. The professor does it, so it's like coming from a solid ball with him, with the many things that can help the people in this country. So I just want to say that. And I say to the people in this country, that's what, and I don't know, and I say they, that's a non-existent person, please participate. When you participate, and I look at anybody that says they're not American, they're not in this country, you got your children going to the colleges, you got your children doing all type of things to do that to make it better. That's not a negative, that's a positive. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ron. Also, Brother Stanley from North Philly, thank you for waking up with Word.
Professor, good morning to you. A very interesting morning, and listening to the different perspectives. And I believe what Brother Samari was trying to say that was missing in the discussion was, let's step back and analyze what is the results we're getting. They say insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting different results. And what I heard was, we need, as black people in North America, we need to create a conference where we can actually delve into the actuality rather than the illusion of what this political apparatus is giving us and what we're getting. Because at the end of the day, if we look at statistics and data, we were downward spiraling even in our participation. And that's what we're not looking at. And also I hear that we're not monolithic. maybe us not being monolithic is part of the problem. Because if we don't come together and devise a way of using this political apparatus to our advantage as compared to our disadvantage, what's taking place? Listen, man, my son got murdered last year. This ain't no joke for me and other people who have experienced the devastation of this Western decadence that we keep uplifting and we keep trying to get something out of it for ourselves that it has demonstrated it's not going to give us if we don't come together and use our intellectual ability to figure out a way how to use it to our advantage as compared to our disadvantage. And I'm listening to all of this back and forth and waving the flag and this political piping. I heard you say yesterday, we have to be careful that we don't wind up like Martin Luther King. Am I leading my people into a burning building? So why don't we just get together and create a conference so we can air all this out, come out of there like Malcolm said in a room and come out with a plan that works for all of us, not just one neighborhood, not just this people, not just that people, but a plan that would work politically for every one of us.
No, I appreciate your call. I think a conference is a great idea. I think Brother Stanley is on to a really powerful and great idea. Maybe a WRD on politics conference might be just the thing we need in time to make sure that we move unified. Even if we're not monolithic, we can still be unified. And one thing I wanted to make sure I mentioned, I know some people listening when Brother Ryan was talking about, a lot of leaders did talk about respecting the flag, but there's also a long history to what they call the flag desecration or the flag burning rules and laws, the Flag Desecration Amendment. And the most recent attempt to propose a flag desecration amendment failed in the United States Senate by one vote, June 27, 2006. So you don't have to respect it. You got your constitutional right to not respect it if you want. But I understood what Ron was saying, and I do adhere to what the master teacher was saying, especially when Elijah Muhammad was talking about obeying the laws of the land. And I remember him saying that, and I was thinking, it redefined the way rebellion looked, and it made it more strategic because you can get more done when you're free. And I think it was Ahmed Stanford, brother Dr. Ahmed, Maxwell Stanford, Revolutionary Action Movement. And I asked him in the Malcolm X class, what would you do differently if there's one thing you could do differently? And I remember him looking me in my eyes and telling me he would have never told anybody he was a revolutionary. Said he could have got more done. All that being public enemy number one and having to run around with firearms and be off the grid and underground. He said he couldn't even do the work. So all that wearing the T-shirt and yelling I'm a revolutionary and all that, sometimes when you're on the battlefield, the best thing you can wear is some camouflage. Brother Jim from Southwest.
Good morning, young brother.
Good morning.
I got 2 points to throw at you.
Okay.
Accountability in the public school system. We are in a position, we could shut that school system down if they don't do what we want them to do. And we fail to even acknowledge that point. Turner Middle was a brand new school when I moved back into Philadelphia. They had a man there, Dr. Knowles. They got rid of Dr. Knowles, and later Turner was sold. That's not an old building. That's just an indication to me how the school system is so corrupt. They're not about the business of educating these children. It's about when they got rid of that black lady that died later, I can't think of her name right now, that was another indicator. Every black politician in this town knew what was going down the pike, but they allowed them to get rid of that woman, and the deterioration of the school system has been ongoing ever since. And as long as these black politicians continue to run unopposed, you have no means of accountability.
I hear you, brother. No, thank you so much for sharing your insights. And I do appreciate, a lot of people calling up, just having, like the brother was saying, a diversity of thought and political perspective. Brother Bourne from North Philly, thank you for waking up with Word.
Good morning, Professor Smith.
Good morning.
Young Phyllis. I commend you. Great program. I've met Charles Ellison before. I've met Shamari before. I've never met Vincent Thomas. I respect Shamari
Thompson.
And his position. I was close to that before. The furthest I went was to become independent. But I definitely want to commend Vincent Thompson. I think it may have been a week or two ago. He was on the air, possibly at City Council, but he was talking about how politics works in terms of the reparations movement. And he gave some very valuable information in terms of numbers. He said, even in city council, for example, he said, I think it was there's 7 votes to introduce a bill, if I'm correct, and then a certain number to get it passed, and then a certain number to veto it. But he said something very key relative to reparations. He said we may be barking down a wrong tree when we're hollering, oh, the president has to do this or this person has to do that. And he said Congress is the only group that can do that. And he said during the presidential election, we can't really put the pressure on whoever's running on the Democratic side to go for reparations. He said we need to focus now to get Congress people in or to sway every Congress person in order to get the number of votes in order to put it through. I just found that very, very enlightening.
That's a powerful point.
I think he's a very good strategist, and he would work very good on someone's campaign because he knows the mechanisms and how the system works. But I just wanted to say that and commend him for putting that information out there on the airwaves for the people.
You don't go taking them away from us, though, brother. You about to have them, go get some job somewhere and leave us. No, I'm just kidding. I definitely appreciate the commentary. And yes, he's a master political strategist and definitely a walkie-talkie, living legend and institution in our city when it comes to just having such a trajectory of engagement, involvement, and insights into the political process here in Philadelphia. And that's why he was awarded. He's received Lifetime Achievement Awards in his field and been recognized for going above and beyond and just having the type of temperament that can advance despite changing political climates and even, various aspects and elements of adversity. Because one thing we talked about was the difference between the emotional responses and the political strategic engagements, and you need people like Brother Vincent Thompson who can have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, but have permanent interests and fight for those interests on behalf of the people that are part of his community. So we definitely appreciate the opportunity just to work alongside of people like that. And I soak up so much information from all the brothers that I spoke to today. I've learned so much from Brother Charles Ellison. I've learned so much from Brother Shamari, and I've learned so much from Brother Vincent Thompson. It was a pleasure to have a dream team, and to set it off and let y'all just take it away. On the other side, we're going to go Mo, Jill, everybody will come right back to the phone lines. Quick break, and we're right back at it. You're waking up with word, y'all.
The Source.
The Source.
Weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Special guest host Renee Chanel Platan every Monday in April.
The Source. Exclusively on WURD Radio and WURDRadio.com.
Councilman Alan Dom is building a brighter future for Philadelphia's children, fighting for more school funding, raising funds to support tech education, and personally donating to teach computer coding at Coded by Kids. Listen to Coded by Kids instructor Ashley and CEO Sylvester Mobley.
There are a lot of kids that will have a brighter future thanks to Alan Dom and his contributions to Coded by Kids.
Having Alan Dom make a commitment to transforming people's lives through technology has helped us. I can't thank Alan Dom enough.
Fundraising to teach computer coding, personally donating thousands. Alan Dom is fighting to give our children the opportunities they deserve and preparing them for success. Big ideas, big achievements. A better city for all of us. Vote Alan Dom, Democrat for City Council at large. Paid for by Alan Dom for City Council.
WordRadio.com.
They say home is where the heart is. At Moravia Health, eligible people 18 and over can receive home and community-based services. Home care allows family members the freedom to work and carry on their lives knowing their loved ones are cared for. Moravia Health wants to be your first phone call when looking for premium home care services. Come and experience the Moravia Health difference. The moments that matter deserve quality care from a company you trust. Call Moravia Health at 215-717-8650. That's 215-717-8650. Or visit MoraviaHealth.com. Moravia Health, because there's no place like home.
Nina Simone, For Women is a musical play on stage now through March 31st at People's Light in Malvern, featuring hits like Cinnamon and To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. Nina Simone, For Women imagines the legendary songstress at the site of the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing, the event that shifted Simone's career from nightclub singer to civil rights activist. For tickets, call 610-644-3500 or visit peopleslight.org.
You're waking up with Word.
Waking up with word, y'all.
with the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith.
Get your weight up, and then we'll have a conversation.
On Word Radio. Black Talk Media.
900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, WURDradio.com. Listen live anytime and log on the phone lines at this time. Let's take a couple calls. We got a guest coming in, but I promised y'all I would go straight to Brother Mo, North Philly. Thank you for waking up with Word.
Hey, good morning, brother professor. See,
good morning.
Black people, a lot of people think that black people are stupid and underestimate us. We had 24 years of black mayorship in the city of Philadelphia. What has it gotten us? These white developers that's coming in the city, they can't gentrify the neighborhood without city council. They want us to actually believe that they have nothing to do with the gentrification that's going on in Philadelphia. It's not only happening here, but across the country in black neighborhoods. Negro politicians are selling the people out. And they tell us, if you don't vote, you don't count. We vote and we still don't count. Look we had a so-called black president 8 years. What has it gotten us? We had a black attorney general. He's the top cop. Yet still, this white cop choked Eric Gardner to death on camera. They shoot this other brother in the back down in South Carolina. They killed that brother out in Ferguson. Trayvon Martin get killed under the watch of a black attorney general. So they give these Negroes power, but they don't execute it. So what good does it really come out of it? You know, it's frustrating and it makes you angry. Look at Wilson Good. I remember the night when they dropped the bomb on me. There wasn't no move bomb. Move didn't bomb anybody. Wilson Good and his gang, they bombed him. He come on TV. I accept full responsibility, and I'll do it again if I have to. Me, he would burn black people, babies, at temperatures over 2,000 degrees. But he should be labeled pariah, never around black life again. But we accept him back in. Since it was on Tony Brown Journal said 11 people got killed in Philadelphia when a bomb was dropped on Move, and you got black people around talking about poor Wilson Good. See, we forgive our enemies, right? And hate the people who stand up for it. Now, let's take a page out of the Jews' book. It's not that many of them in this country. They don't vote like we do. But what is it that gives them the power? It's their dollar bill. When the politicians get in front of you, one of the main two questions they ask you, do you support Israel and do you repudiate Farrakhan? And you better answer those questions right. If you don't, you're out the box. Why is it that these Negroes tremble to the Jews? But when it comes to us, they take our vote for granted like we $2 whores. They don't care. Until we start using our dollars and shutting these devils down. And the key is unity. If we can unite, these big black churches can get in the ears of their congregation and tell them, shut your cable off. Don't shop at this store. Don't put your money in this one. Let's support only Afro-American mom and pop stores. We can run everything that's not Afro-American out of the black community. Any white business that want to do business with us, they got to do it according to our terms. They got to be in solidarity with us. But the key is that we got to unite, got to use our dollars, and can't be afraid and let nobody dictate what we should and should be doing. You have a good day, brother.
I appreciate you, Brother Mo. We're going to do a quick speed round, a few calls for this interview. Jill from Abington. I just want to make sure I get everybody in, even though we don't have a lot of time. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Dr. Smith. I just wanted to call in to say that we have to vote no matter what. And I'm going to vote every day every time the polls open until I can't even push the button. I'm going to get somebody come in there with me and push the button. That's the only power that we do have to make changes, even though everyone's calling all these different ideas out. We have to stick together and vote. We have only 27% of Philadelphians voting. That's not enough to change anything. We all have to get out there. And if we don't, you're going to see the school system change. We were there. I was there working with the district when the parents didn't come out to block those closings of schools. I'm there when parents don't come for report card conferences. Those are the voices that can make a change, but they don't come out and they don't speak up. Same thing about this planting a garden, making our own vegetables. If you don't vote, you're going to have a group of politicians in there that's going to take away all of the little land that you have to put the gardens on. You've got to vote, but after you vote, you've got to go out and hold folks accountable. You have to shut down the traffic. You have to do whatever you have to do to get your voice heard, and we don't. We're like sheep to the slaughter.
I hear you, Jill. Yeah.
And say, oh, well, no, we've got to hold their feet to the fire, but the only way to hold them to the feet to the fire is, first of all, vote.
Vote, vote, vote. I got you. Yasmin from West Philly.
Yes, I wanted to comment on the voting situation. I heard the conversation this morning up until about 9 o'clock. But real quick, I just want to thank Brother Charles and Brother Vincent, for, again, still pushing that vote piece. It's very important for us to get out and vote. And the problem is, not just pushing a button, but, taking a back seat after you push that button. You have to stay active. You have to stay educated as to what's going on in your community. And we have to hold folks accountable. That is the problem. We don't hold folks accountable for what they're doing once they get in office.
Got you.
If we hold them accountable, then changes will be made. But we have to vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Reverend Joe, last caller before the interview. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Dr. Smith. Thanks for a great week of information. We're still being mistreated by the color of our skin. We have a young lady going to be speaking to us Sunday, Dr. Cheryl Barber. He's just back from Brazil. But if you're black or dark in Brazil, you can't do anything but make beds. She did a documentary with a young lady, and an hour after she interviewed a freedom fighter there, they assassinated the lady. So that's Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. She'll be coming back to that information because I think you can't even vote if you're dark in Brazil. Thank you for what you do. Don't give up.
Thank you, Reverend Joe from Mount Airy. At this time, we have M.K. Asante Jr., English professor at Morgan State University, specialties in screenwriting, film, memoir writing. If you read the book Buck, then you know what's up. Black Candle, many other works. He joins us this morning to talk about the hip-hop conference I've been telling y'all about all week. Tomorrow, our opening original keynote, just tearing the lid off the thing, setting the tone for the day, is in the building. M.K. Asante, Malefe Kete Asante's son, M.K. Asante. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Definitely.
I appreciate it. Like I said, man, when I saw you, I said, oh, snaps. I'm so happy to be on the air with you. I'm a fan of your work.
No, I appreciate that. That's a big deal.
I showed my classes your work, and you got crazy bars right in the tradition of Philly, Philly MCs and professors and intellectuals. So it's an honor to be here. It's also an honor to be at WURD. The late Dr. Walter Lomax was actually an executive producer of the Black Candle, the movie that we made with Maya Angelou. So it's just a blessing to be here.
And where can people check out the trailer and all that? Just to know what we're talking about. You got a trailer on YouTube they can go check out.
Yeah, you talking about for the Black Candle?
Yeah, for the Black Candle, just so they can see some of the stuff you do.
So the Black Candle is a film that we did, came out in 2009, but it's still shown, around the world. We were at screenings this year, and it's a film that uses Kwanzaa as a vehicle to celebrate and explore the African American experience. Dr. Maya Angelou was the narrator and co-writer. I was the director and writer, producer. Dr. Walter Lomax and Kenny Gamble were actually executive producers.
Wow.
And it's just a really powerful project. A lot of legends on that project. People like my father, Dr. Karanga is on there, Jim Brown, Deb Prez, Chuck D. Just lots of people, and then just like people from on Germantown Ave, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People on Broad Street, people in Compton, people in Chicago, exactly. So we just had a lot of voices in that. We went around the world to make that film. Was in Europe and Africa, so that was a cool project.
Now, in terms of tomorrow, we're talking about hip hop, we're talking about prison reform, we're talking about social justice, and I know at Morgan, you and the students there, you address these issues often. But what are some of the messages just that you want to get across to the people tomorrow? What can they look forward to, in terms of the conversation in the conference tomorrow?
Yeah, I think they can look forward to an enlightening conversation, that deals with hip hop, that deals with young people, a conversation that deals with how to transform observations into obligations. That's something I'm big on. A conversation that looks at hip hop in the continuum of African American art. When I look at black art, I think about the quilt. oftentimes, right? So with the quilt, and I'm speaking specifically of the quilt that the sisters used to make during, you know, enslavement. And they would have these quilts, and number one, the quilts would be resourceful. So they would be able to, you know, we didn't have one big piece of cloth back in the day. We'd have different scraps from here. So they would make something out of nothing. We call that the maximization of minimal resources. So number one is the maximization of minimal resources. That's the first aspect that we need in our art. Number two is the aesthetic quality. You know, you don't just have you know, your bars aren't just full of content. The way you deliver those bars is hot. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta put some style to it.
Exactly. So it's the aesthetic, you know, and that's important if you want to convey the message. I think the third thing that we can learn from the quilt, and we see with hip hop when it's at its best, is that it's practical. So it's not just made, you know, to hang up on a wall somewhere. The quilt keeps you warm. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, bars, like the kind of bars that you deliver and the kind of bars from our favorite MCs, you know, they help in a practical way in our lives. You know what I mean? They give us inspiration or hope or guidance or education or whatever it may be. And then I think the fourth thing we can learn from the quilt is, you know, some of these black women that used to make the quilt during enslavement, they would put coded messages in them about how to escape slavery, you know, how to read the stars to escape north. So not only did you have a quilt that was resourceful, that was practical, that was beautiful, but it was also emancipatory. And I think hip hop at its best is emancipatory. So that's a little flavor of what we're going to be talking about tomorrow.
Now, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to MK Asante Jr. We're talking about the hip hop conference at Temple University. Department of Africology and African American Studies is sponsoring a program, a conference on social justice through the lens of hip-hop, and we're going to talk about prison reform, and Attorney Lee Merritt is also going to be there speaking. One of the things I want to talk to you about is this commodification of creativity. There's a point in the continuum where other people seem to have greater control over what was being mass-produced and pushed forward as popular culture and hip-hop culture than what was when we just had the ability to be who we wanted to be, and biting wasn't allowed, and people praised being original. You need to come out and be everything. Your flow had to be original, your look had to be original, you know, your content had to have its own style to it, and now it seems to have flipped where the more you sound like everybody else, the more likely you are to get clicks on SoundCloud and get followers and, you know, get a deal. So how can we, in the current climate, take back the essence of the art in a way that we can use it as a vehicle or a weapon or a force to help to liberate African people and consciousness?
Well, I think, you know, it already is. I mean, for example, like, you know, your videos have mad views, you know what I'm saying? The reason why is because the content, you know, is there, you know, and when it's there, when it's true, like some of them clicks that you're talking about, maybe those are bots, you know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
You know, how many, you know, J. Cole and Middlechild say, you know, how many of them paying for streams or how many of those are bots? So I think also even this idea of get a deal is kind of antiquated because, you know, I think the people that know now don't want a deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because why would I need it? Why would I want a deal? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, you know, that kind of so I think we are getting back to the essence, and I think like the sharp young people that I come across, they're not looking for that deal, that savior kind of thing, because they realize that, you know, the control. I have a very good friend, for example, I won't say his name, but I have a very good friend who's in a situation and he wished he didn't sign that deal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because when you start to realize
don't say his name. Don't say his name.
Yeah, that's my man.
Don't beef with the label. That's the worst thing. That's career suicide.
You know, but understanding the freedom that he had before, he could release his music whenever he wanted before. He
could talk about whatever he wanted.
Talk about whatever he wanted before. You know, he was in control. Now, you know, it's like a totally different situation. So I think, but he's young and he's able to tell other young people like, yo, you know, the more you can do yourself, you know, even when it seems like you're not getting the you know, the push from that machine, you know, that integrity and that independence, that autonomy will help you in the long run. Even when I think about, you know, some of our artists, like, you know, you have a Jay-Z, or you have also Tyler Perry comes to mind. The reason why those two people come to mind, just from a business perspective, is they didn't get a deal, right? And so that made them be independent, which in the long run made them
very lucrative.
extremely powerful, not just lucrative, but the power. You know, I got a Tidal subscription because I wanted to listen to a Reasonable Doubt song. You know what I'm saying?
I gotta tell you, I'm rocking with Jack.
You know, and so it's like, you know, to listen to his stuff, you got to get his platform.
And his lady, right?
Exactly. And so that's, you know, I love that. You know, same thing with if Tyler Perry would have got whatever you think about his movies doesn't matter, but you know, if he would have got a deal, he wouldn't have been. He would have been in a situation where he would have been powerless.
And there'd be no studio right now.
Exactly, he wouldn't have had a studio, and so him having to be independent is actually what turned them both into moguls and into powerful people in the art form.
And it's ironic because we were just talking about politics and how we need to have the ability, like Claude Anderson says, to go on that foundational level where we got to control our economy first so we can even consider addressing and, like he says, you know, unabashedly buying politicians. So if you don't have money to come to the table and even play that game, you can't worry about that next level. And a lot of what we're talking about, I told my students yesterday, I said, when you come into a room, like Jay-Z said, show you how to move in a room full of vultures, and your mentality is, I want to own as much of myself and my creativity as possible. If that's your foundation, every conversation, every meeting you take, everything you're offered is going to have to be weighed against the reality that your end game is to control as much of yourself as possible. And the fact that they are on it like that, if they can be given the political consciousness and the awareness that's accompanying their love for independence and autonomy and agency, I think like these conversations for the conference have a lot of potential transformative power. Because somebody already don't want to be owned. Somebody already doesn't want to be spoken down to and talked at. So for you to come in and say, let me give you a chronology, let me show you how it relates to social justice and politics and your, you know, your existence on the planet, power or powerless. I think that that's one of the main reasons why I wanted you to come out today and encourage everybody, you know, to be here. What are you teaching currently at Morgan?
I'm and also just to piggyback off that real quick, I got to give another shout out again to Dr. Walter Lomax and you know, Kenny Gamble, because you know those are they were meant, you know, Dr. Walter Lomax, that was a mentor to me, and Kenny Gamble, and they showed me, you know, some of the things that we're talking about, just from a business perspective and an ownership perspective, you know, how it's done, and that really that sticks with me to this day. So I want to definitely give a shout out to them. And then as far as Morgan State, I've been teaching at Morgan State since 2007, and I love being there, and I teach creative writing, I teach screenwriting, so I'm in the screenwriting and animation department, but also in the English department. You know, I've taught classes, hip-hop class before. That's the class where I mean, in several of my classes, we watch your videos.
And you've written on hip-hop as well, right?
Definitely.
Tell them one of the books
called Is Bigger Than Hip-Hop.
It's Bigger Than Hip-Hop.
And then obviously my book Buck definitely, you know, is hip hop is incorporated all through that book, and this has been a major part of my life.
And Buck is a memoir, right?
Yeah, Buck is a memoir. Young Buck, Buck Wild, Buck Shots, Bucktown, Slave Buck, Black Buck, Make Buck, Buck Now.
Hey.
So yeah. So
now are they considering a screenplay for that? You talking about screenplay?
Yeah,
right?
we're actually. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm here in Philly, in addition to the conference, is we're working on the Buck movie right now.
Oh wow,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so Buck is being made into a movie.
Oh, let me know, man. You know I'll be acting, man. You know that. Hey, let me do my Tupac on the break. Let's do a break so I can do my audition real quick and come back. MK Asante, Morgan State, and we are going to have a conference tomorrow that you do not want to miss, 11 a.m.
Reasonable Clout.
Yeah, be there. The Afrocentric analysis of hip-hop in this current contemporary situation and inspiration and information. Make sure you are there. Ritter Annex Walk Auditorium, 11 a.m. Get there early. Shouts out to my AAR peeps, because they don't play when it comes to being on time. You are waking up with word, y'all.
Every day is a new adventure at the Please Touch Museum with our all-new exhibit, America to Zanzibar, Muslim Cultures Near and Far. In this multi-sensory exhibit, kids can use their imagination to explore, experience, and engage in a variety of fun interactions and experience everyday life through objects of Muslim American families. Designed for everyone, America to Zanzibar features experiences for all ages. Explore architecture, artifacts, artistry, and more in this groundbreaking new exhibit. Visit pleasetouchmuseum.org to purchase your tickets today.
I would like to play a little tune I just composed not so long ago.
Hey family, do you like hearing the best jazz selections aired by 3 of the best jazz announcers in Philadelphia? Well, tune in to 96.1 FM,
96.1 FM,
and 900 AM, WURD Radio, independent black media, for freedom's sounds of jazz.
Freedom Sounds of Jazz.
Hear Freedom Sounds of Jazz 10 p.m. Fridays with your hosts in rotation, Aquila, Jonathan Bay, and David Fritz. That's 10 p.m. Friday nights on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM Independent Black Media.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation? Follow us on social media using the hashtag onWURD. Be heard. Stay connected to Word Radio. Independent Black Media. Philadelphia Theater Company presents How to Catch Creation, March 22nd through April 14th. Christina Anderson's new play follows the dreams, losses, and loves of 4 friends in San Francisco who are creating their professional and personal legacies. Ignited by the works of a Black queer feminist writer from long ago, their lives begin to intersect in unexpected ways. For tickets, visit philatheaterco.org or call 215-985-0420.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Let's go! You're waking up with Word.
Waking up with Word, y'all!
On Word Radio. Black Talk Media.
900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, WURDradio.com. Listen live anytime and log on. If you don't have that app, you know where to go. Download an app like you know. While we're doing this interview, if you want to chime in, maybe ask a question or two, 215-634-8065. We are live in studio. MK Asante, Malefe Kete Asante Jr., right? I want to make sure I get it right, because I know people probably confuse y'all all the time. How do y'all work that out? I'm the son, I'm the dad, I'm the dad, I'm the son.
Well, you know, it's all part of the continuum, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I want to definitely give a shout out to my dad, Dr. Asante. I know he's listening, probably listening. We just talked like 20 minutes ago.
Okay,
so
shout out to Dad, he got me on the earth.
Yeah, exactly, you know what I'm saying? And I also shout out to my mom, Dr. Kayama Welsh, who actually retired last year from Temple, and she's a choreographer. And yeah, you know, I mean, actually people don't know this, but his middle name is Kate, and I have a different middle name.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know, my middle name is actually, I'm gonna tell you 2 ways to say it.
Okay.
The American way to say it that's not really the correct way would be Kumalo. But the way we say it is Malo. So if you really want to be authentic and call me, you gotta be like Malo.
Well, I'm at to, when you come next time, I'm gonna be authentic. But for now,
you got to put some practice in.
Put some practice on your name. Put some respect and some practice on your name.
That's why sometimes that's why we just say MK. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you do us a favor.
People were like, no, but what's your? I'm like, okay, Malo, and then they're like, okay, MK.
MK. Be careful what you ask for, right? Now, in terms of this ability to use this medium as a revolutionary transformative tool to reach a population that often doesn't even speak other languages. I don't think a lot of people not engaged in hip-hop realize the level of domination that hip-hop has over certain people's lives. When I read Carter G. Woodson and the Miseducation Negro, and he talks about basically the circumference of knowledge you give a person can limit the way they behave and what they expect for themselves. There are people who wake up every day, and if it's not like self-medicating or chasing, you know, somebody from the opposite sex, or, well, you know, whatever they choose, like, it's basically hip-hop. Like, the conversation, maybe a little bit of sports, a little bit of, you know, instant gratification, wherever you define that, and like hip-hop. They argue all day about who's the best MC, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. So when you come in and you can relate on that level, just talk a little bit about being in a community setting and in a university setting, and just the results that you've seen and the potential that hip-hop has.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen it used as an educational force, as well as the other things. I mean, even for me personally, you know, even you know, growing up with parents that were professors and, you know, had a lot of knowledge, hip-hop taught me things that, or put me on to things that, you know, I didn't get anywhere else, you know what I mean? So, for example, learning about Assata Shakur, like the kids were asking me yesterday at Alny High School, like, what's the best book you ever read or that's most transformative? I said it might be might be Asada by Asada Shakur. That John definitely.
I've heard that.
Yeah, that was a really powerful work for me. And you know, how did I get to Asada? I got through that through Common's Song for Asada. You know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy how, you know, it can be the spark. You know, Tupac said, I might not be the one to change the world, but I'm gonna definitely spark the brain. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, sometimes it's just that spark. You know, I've also seen, like, as a professor, you know, I've seen students who come into a hip-hop class, you know, really believe that they love hip-hop but don't know anything about the culture. Or like, and I'm not even talking about, like, you know,
just mumble rap or something.
Yeah, I'm talking about really don't even have a basic understanding of hip-hop and the culture and the elements and some of the pioneers and, you know, just the deeper understanding of it, you know, and how powerful, you know. I think it's also the repetition of words, you know what I mean? You repeat words all the time. I mean, you know, we talking about education and studying for tests or whatever it may be. That repetition of certain words and ideas and rote memorization, that definitely is very powerful if you do that. That's why in every, you know, religion or anything, they chant the same thing over and over and over. I mean, because if you continuously say the same thing over and over, it manifests and it has power, you know. So I think we underestimate, you know, you were talking about other cultures coming in and owning things, and I think sometimes it's because we underestimate and kind of undervalue our own, you know, because we don't even see how powerful it is, and other people come in and like, yo, this is super powerful. We could manipulate this, the world. And, like, you know. But I think even, like, you know, when I was working on that movie, The Black Candle, talking to people in the US organization, talking to former Black Panthers, you know, they didn't realize back then during COINTELPRO, their whole thing was like, we didn't really think that they were watching us. Like, we didn't think, you know, this is before they kind of found out that they were. They underestimated, you know,
how much, because
they're like, yeah, we're just some, you know, some young people in Compton, some
trying
young
to protect
people
our community, right?
Yeah, like they're not really, but the authorities are looking at them like, yo, you're the most dangerous thing in the world. You know what I mean? And that's how I think hip hop is. Like, it's the most dangerous thing in the world if understood and utilized. So, you know.
So we're gonna definitely change the paradigm, continue to shift the paradigm, and load up the other side of this scale against these major corporations that want to use hip hop as a negative force. MK just saw Brother Mike here from WRD. You know, it's a family thing here at WRD, and we're gonna bring that love and that light and that excitement, and that inspiration and information. Tomorrow we will be at Ritter Hall, Ritter Annex Walk Auditorium, the Reasonable Clout Conference, the most dangerous hip hop conference in the world. The Department of Africology and African American Studies at Temple University, free to enter. We're gonna have some food for y'all. MK is gonna open it up as the first keynote, and make sure you get there early. My AARP peeps, hit us with the social media, the upcoming projects, websites, and all that.
So mkasante.com is the website, at mkasante on Twitter and Instagram, Asante MK on Facebook. I also want to give a shout out to Mike Thomas, who just walked in, who's definitely been a big part of the movement, the Black Candle. You know what I'm saying? When I talk about the Black Candle and Dr. Walter Lomax, like, you know, Mike Thomas was, you know, I know he's kind of a behind-the-scenes guy, but he's definitely instrumental in making those deals happen and making that all happen. So I want to give him, you know, a big shout-out. And the Buck movie is coming. We're working on it right now. And, you know, look for that. BuckTheMovie.com if you want to get involved. You can register, sign up, and you can get updates. And you could also be involved in the local casting calls and things like that.
Oh, make sure you come down tomorrow. Some of y'all might want to be stars, be in a movie, shooting a movie in Philly. So not just my intellectuals and my hip-hop heads, but also my aspiring actors and other artists. Make sure you get involved and come on down. BuckTheMovie.com?
Yep, BuckTheMovie.com.
BuckTheMovie.com. And make sure you level up on WURDRadio.com. Log on, click the level up banner. Today is the last day. Oh, you better hurry up and stop playing. Celebration of Women Who Got Next. Exciting 3-city contest contest celebrating Women's History Month. They calling all the young black women leaders to share community stories about empowerment and commitment. Hashtag Level Up, a joint production of the Independent Black Media Consortium, network of 3 leading African-American owned and operated commercial radio stations in the nation. WURD Radio out of Philadelphia, WVON out of Chicago, KJLH out of Los Angeles. These stations are coming together. Nobody does it better. 18 to 35, now is the time. Recommend somebody or nominate yourself. They're going to have on-air digital platform sharing so all the, the winners of the contest can get their shine. But the deadline, now is that time. It is the 29th, today. Make sure that you are on your way the same way that we are on our way to listen to The Source, of course. Tomorrow, Temple University, I'm going to see the word family. I haven't seen some of y'all from a couple events ago. Some of y'all, hey, don't tell me last thing you went to was the Eco Word or the Kimmel Center. We done did some things since then. Now, you better come on back out. Don't forsake the assembly. Come on back out and see family now. Even if you can't stay too long, just make sure you stop by and say hi. Oh, man, it's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed our Word on Politics segment. Thanks again to Brother Shamari, Brother Vincent Thompson, and Brother Charles Ellison. It is just a blessing to be part of the WURD family, and the best part of the blessing is you. Get your membership today. Get your membership today. We're in this together. I'm headed out to D.C. Howard University. Here I come. One love. I'm back at Temple tomorrow. You're waking up with Word, y'all.
And I know it's gonna be